gonna cover everything, from 126-132, okay? As you know by now, if you study the quizzes that we do at the end of each chapter and know what's going on with those, if the correct answers to the questions are, you shouldn't have any problem on the test, okay? All right, we're gonna go through those last 4 chapters today. Should be on 129, page 1614.
Is there an ASC on this?
What's that?
Is there an ASC on
Yes,
this?
sir, there is. We'll be taking that tomorrow. The next 2 weeks we'll be doing steering and suspension, okay? For the next, I believe that is a 2-week. Let me check here real quick. Yeah, that's gonna be 113 to 125. Okay, let's go through this. This is going to be talking about drive shaft, U-joint service, CV joint. Some of this is going to be informational. As far as replacing U-joints, stuff like that, you may do that once in a while. It's not really like a common service. It's not something that's done as normally maintenance type of thing. Just when it needs it. Okay? U-joints are pretty easy to replace. As far as, how you doing? As far as CV joints go, probably not going to be replacing any of those. If you have a problem with a CV joint, put a whole drive axle in it. It's easier and it's a much more effective repair. Okay? We don't really do any CV joint service anymore, but again, this will be for your information. All right. How to diagnose and inspect it. Steps to replace U-joint. How to perform measurement of working angles. Diagnosing problems with CV joints. Describe the service procedures and replacing them. This will prepare you for 84, steering and suspension. For some reason, they have this under steering and suspension instead of manual transmission drivetrain. I think that's actually a mistake on there. Okay, symptoms of a defective U-joint. Vibration, harshness at highway speed, clicking sound whenever the vehicle is moving forward or reverse, or a clunking sound whenever changing gear, such as moving from drive to reverse. Okay? So what's happening when you're going from drive to reverse, you're shifting the direction that the drive shaft rotates, right? If you have a U-joint that's got play and they're worn, you'll hear that clunk when you switch from drive to reverse. Okay? That's what they're referring to there. Okay. This is a U-joint with the cap taken off of it, and as you can see, these caps have little needle bearings in them. And obviously this has worn into the U-joint surface itself. And there's really no, other than if some of these have grease fittings on them, other than having to grease them once in a while, there's really no service for U-joints as far as repair. If it's bad, you're just going to take it out and replace it. Okay? Now this is something that you may do as far as the CV joint goes. Probably never going to mess with a CV joint. Okay? Again, You buy a whole drive axle, you get the inner, the outer, you get a whole new assembly. It's just easier to change the whole axle, okay? You don't wanna mess with CV joints. They're messy, they're time consuming, and you're just literally wasting your time to try to replace a CV joint or even a boot, okay? Okay. Defective U-joint symptoms. We just saw that. What were they?
Worn out.
Clunking,
Okay. Clunking when shifting from drive to reverse. Vibration maybe.
vibration.
What was the other one?
Clicking sound.
Yeah, okay. There you go. Clicking noise, clunking noise, vibration. Drive shaft should be inspected. Make sure it doesn't have any dents in it. Make sure it doesn't have any junk on it. Okay? Anybody familiar with undercoating?
Yeah.
Okay. In the rainy climates or wet states, sometimes they'll undercoat cars. It's just like a spray coating they put underneath to keep them from rusting. Okay? Sometimes that ends up on the drive shaft and it causes balance problems, but obviously you would notice that right away. It's not something that's just gonna happen out of nowhere, right? U-joints should not have any side-to-side movement in them. They should be able to flex. Smooth. Make sure each joint through its full travel that will move properly. Sometimes they do have grease fittings on it. It says they should be greased 4 times a year as part of a regular service, but again, some of them don't have grease fittings on them. Some do. If you disconnect the drive shaft, it's a good idea to mark it where you're taking off. This is the cap, this is the flange for the rear differential. It's a good idea to mark this so when you put it back together, it goes back the same way. The only way you could put it, it would be 180 degrees off, which is not normally a problem, but it's just a good idea to put it back on the way it was because it may cause an imbalance issue. Okay? It's just a good idea to mark it. Okay, types of retaining methods commonly used on the rear joint at the differential. It's either going to have a U-bolt, like you see on the right there, or a strap, like you see on the left. One of the others, normally what you're going to see, that holds the U-joint into the differential flange. Best way to check it, remove the drive shaft from the vehicle and move the U-joint in all directions. It should be free to move without binding, and it shouldn't have any excessive play in it. Okay, as far as replacement goes, some of them will have snap rings that hold them, some will have an injected synthetic nylon, which will require heat to remove. After removing the retainers, press it into a vise, separate the U-joint from the yoke. If you don't do it that way, you can do it with hammer and punch. Okay. After removing the dirt and all that from it, install the new U-joint. Rotate it after it's done, make sure it moves freely and doesn't bind. These are the little snap rings some of them will have right here that just hold the caps in there. You would just take those out. That one has the nylon on it, usually requires heat to be applied to remove it from the yoke. Using the device, put the joint cap on. Use tapes to be safe. What they're telling you here is if you take a drive shaft out when you disconnect it from the rear differential, it's possible that these caps could come off, okay? So they're just wrapping tape around, make sure the caps don't come off. Because if they come off and hit the ground, then you got all these needle bearings all over the floor. Good luck trying to find them all. Okay, they do make a special tool to press the U-joint that's retained by the injected plastic. Heat from a propane torch may be necessary to soften the plastic to avoid exerting too much force on the U-joint. Once you get the caps off, you can take the other piece off there of the yoke. When installing the new one, position the grease fitting on the inboard side if it has one. just makes it a little easier to get to if you have to grease it. So this is basically going to show you how it would be done. And those caps that you see him putting on there, those are actually a press bit, so you would actually have to use a vise or a press or a hammer or something like that to get those in, okay? But that's really all there is to it as far as replacing U-joint. It shows the caps just kind of going on there, but you actually have to press them in. It's a tight fit, okay? Okay, as far as working angles go at the drive shaft, unequal or incorrect U-joint working angles can cause severe vibrations. Drive shaft and U-joint angles may change from original factory setting due to one or more of the following reasons: defective or collapsed in-joint transmission mounts, defective or sagging springs, especially rear springs due to overloading or other causes, accident damage or other changes to the chassis of the vehicle, vehicle modification that raises or lowers the ride height. People raise and lower vehicles all the time for whatever purpose, right? Some people have trucks they lift, some people have cars they lower. It changes the angles of the drive shaft if it's rear wheel drive, okay? Working angle of most U-joints should be about 1/2 degree to permit the needle bearing to rotate in the U-joints, and should not exceed 3 degrees, or vibration can occur, especially at higher speeds. Difference between the front and rear working angles should be within 1/2 degree of each other. This is a little magnetic tool that you can put on there to check the angle. It's called an inclinometer. It's a magnetic base used to measure the angle of the drive shaft at the rear U-joint. If you have a leaf spring rear on a vehicle and you need to correct the drive line angle, they do make these wedges to raise or lower the differential to change that angle. This is an example of a transmission pan that's been leaking fluid for quite a while, saturated the rear transmission mount, causing it to collapse. That would change the angle as well, right? Because the tail shaft of the transmission is dropping a little bit, changes the angle of the drive shaft a little, okay? Not normally a problem, but obviously the mount would have to be replaced. And the leak fixed, right? Okay, what are they gonna allow a difference in working angles between the front and rear?
1 degree.
0.5.
1 degree.
Okay, 1/2 degree, yeah.
Half.
Okay. All right. Your CV joint, this is what you're gonna see most of. When a CV joint wears or fails, the most common noise is symptom is driving while noise while driving. An outer U-joint will most likely be heard when turning sharply and accelerating at the same time. That is a common problem. Everybody's probably heard that at some point in time. Car driving around with a bad outer CV joint, where you can hear it click when they go around a corner or something like that. Or maybe even had one yourself that did that. Okay? Noise is usually a clicking sound.
My car a while ago, maybe like a year ago, when I like went in reverse, I turned it all the way to the right so I can cut into my yard. I would drive around the side of my house, and once I hit a sharp turn, it clicked like a couple times, click, 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 and then ever since then it never happened again. So do you think like that's something I should just check?
You may have a CV joint going bad, yeah.
Okay.
What, does the car have a lot of miles on it?
140.
Yeah. Yeah, very possible.
Okay.
This is a very common symptom of an outer CV joint going bad.
Okay.
Because what happens is, when you have the wheel turned all the way, you get about 40 degrees of travel out of that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's putting stress on that CV joint when you accelerate or decelerate. Not decelerate, but accelerate with the wheel turn sharp.
Yeah.
Okay?
But I
You'll
haven't
hear it
heard-
click, like if you were making a U-turn, you turn the wheel all the way and just give it a little bit of gas, you'll hear it click, 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 click as you go around the corner.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't heard it since then, so I don't know.
yeah.
This is
It might
the
have just
second-
been that perfect angle that
Yeah.
made it do that, but it probably is going bad.
Oh, I got you.
Okay. In many places, the standard repair procedure is replacement of the entire drive axle assembly if there's a U-joint, or I'm sorry, CV joint failure. This is what I was referring to earlier. Don't try to repair a CV joint or put a boot on an axle. It's just not worth it,
Just
okay?
get a whole new one?
Yeah, just get a tire drive axle assembly. They're not that expensive, and it's a lot easier to change the entire axle than it is to try to mess with a CV joint or even changing the boot. It's just not worth it, okay? It's felt that even a slight amount of dirt or water inside the U-joint or a CV joint is unacceptable. Another reason why you don't want to just try to repair it or put a boot on it if the boot is cracked or whatever, is if the boot is cracked or broken or whatever, it's gonna be slinging grease everywhere because it's rotating all the time, okay? It's gonna get dirt in there, it's gonna get water in there, it's gonna get whatever. Putting a boot on is not gonna repair that, okay? Tire drive axle is the way to do it. Although, it's funny that they tell you that the best way to do it is replace the entire drive axle assembly, and then they tell you how to do it the other way. Well, if you're going to service the CV joint, which, again, I would not do, it's just not done anymore. So I don't even know anybody who does it anymore. Okay. The hub nut must be removed from the hub bearing assembly or drive axle shaft so it can be removed from the vehicle. Depending on the vehicle, you're going to have to disconnect the upper or lower control, or the steering knuckle here or here in order to get this out of the way so you can get the axle out, okay? There's gonna be a nut on here. Everybody's seen those axle nuts on the cars. Those require special sockets. They're usually pretty good size, maybe somewhere between 32 and 38 millimeter. So you're going to separate the lower control arm in this case.
You know, this is actually a common repair in the South.
Normally, you won't have to use a puller like that. So what this is this is just bolted to a couple of the wheel studs with the wheel bolts on. And then this is pushing the axle out of this hub there. Normally, you can just put the nut back on it to where it's flush with the end of the axle and just hit it with the hammer and it'll break it loose and then you can just pull it out. Normally, you won't have to use that puller, but they do make those pullers. In order to get the axle out of the transaxle, you can use a pry bar. That's the easiest way. They do make these special slide hammers that you can get behind there and use. Because the only thing that holds this axle in there is just a little clip, right? So this axle, once you get it loose from this side, you can just pry it out of the transmission. It's going to leak a little bit of fluid when you do that. I'll put a pan underneath it. Usually won't leak enough to hurt, but it will leak a little bit normally. So there you can see it separated from the steering knuckle. It's pulling it out of the transaxle now. Other surface work is required. It's just one end of the drive axle to be disconnected from the vehicle. Make sure the free end is supported to prevent damage. They're going to tell you how to replace that CV joint or the boot, but I'm just going to tell you, you don't want to do it. It's a waste of time. Okay, so this is going to be just a quick procedure on how to replace the drive axle. Obviously, take the wheel off. You're going to have to take the axle nut off. possibly use a puller on it, or probably not. You have to disconnect the brake caliper. Again, the steering knuckle at one end of the other. You may take it off here at the strut. You may take it off down here at this pinch bolt, the lower control arm. Either way, this is gonna have to be moved out of the way in order to get the axle out, okay? Putting the pry bar on the axle itself. Should be able to pull it out at that point. Just telling you, install is always reverse procedure, right?
Kind of.
All right. Yeah.
As long as you've been in the shop, I've noticed that every time there's a picture, there's somebody in these pictures. They're wearing like nice dress shirts working on these cars. Have you ever seen anybody actually wearing a damn dress shirt in the shop?
No.
Probably the supervisor. Just want to show up in the picture.
Yeah.
Like, let me just hold this real quick, make it look like I know what I'm doing.
Right? Sometimes they do that just for pictures, you know.
Look professional,
Yeah, that's
clean.
it. Right. Exactly.
I don't trust him.
There you go. One for you. For you and you.
The boot.
All right, everybody done with that? Okay.
The last step after replacing defective CV boot is to lubricate the CV joint with chassis grease.
The last step after replacing the CV boot, which you're not gonna do, is gonna replace the whole axle, right? Okay. The correct answer is A, just to get the air out of it.
What page is that on?
Oh, 1612, I believe.
It's,
1612.
1612.
alright, I don't see that.
Yep. I'm not seeing it either.
I don't see it at all.
Yep, I don't see it either.
But that's the right thing to do.
That's what you would do. It's just to make sure that there's no air in it.
Okay. How would you burp it? What is burping like?
Probably just give it a squeeze before you put the clamp on it.
Oh, that's right.
You know, just kind of squeeze air out of it. I thought I saw it in here somewhere. It might have been on the, might have been on the other part. Okay, anyway, let's go for 2.
Carter and type user may require what tools to replace D?
Okay. They require any of the above, yeah.
Number 3. In overdrive gear, the drive shaft rotates slower than the engine. False.
Absolutely. Does not. The overdrive rotates faster. Okay.
To remove or install a drive out of shaft, because the impact force can damage the hull bearing. And it is true.
Mm-hmm.
A clicking noise from the drive line may be the result of some weird differential backlash.
Clunk noise. Clunk noise. I thought you said click noise or clicking noise. Clunk noise. A little bit different.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Maybe the result of excessive rear differential backlash. Yes. What is rear differential backlash? Anybody know?
No, not really.
What's that?
No.
No? Okay.
Isn't that when like you're driving it like kind of pushes a little extra? And, like, that's when the car like takes off a little bit. Like as you're driving, I'm like push you back.
No. Okay, rear differential is going to have a ring and pinion gear, right?
Mhm.
Ring gear, pinion gear is just a little bit below it, they call it a hypoid gear set. So let's pretend like these are the gear teeth, okay?
Uh-huh.
So the teeth mesh together, right, as you're driving. If backlash is this,
Okay.
too much space between the gear teeth, so it causes it to clunk one way or clunk the other way.
So
Okay.
like grinding a little bit back and
It,
forth.
it wouldn't grind, it would just kind of clunk, like when you go from like drive to reverse, you hear it, because it switches the
Okay.
drive shaft direction. It pushes on the teeth a different direction. If there's too much backlash in there, you'll hear that clunk, okay? It's just space, too much space between the gear teeth, okay? You measure that with a dial indicator, which we'll get to in another chapter. Okay, so that is true. Right? Okay, so we're at 6, yeah.
The most common complaint for CV joint failure is noise while turning,
True.
but true.
That is true, okay.
Two technicians are discussing U-joints. Technician A says that a defective U-joint could cause a loud clunk if the transmission is shifted between drive and reverse.
606.
Technician B says a worn U-joint can cause a clicking sound while driving the vehicle in reverse. The technician is correct. Both.
All right, both of those are good. Number 8.
A defective outer CV joint will usually make the outer one is a clump, right?
No,
The clink.
C.
Okay.
outer one's a clicking noise.
The inner is the clump.
Okay,
Incorrect or unequal U-joint working angles are most likely to be caused by a bent drive shaft.
most likely,
Is it
B.
D?
yeah, B.
B.
You're more likely to have a collapsed engine and transmission mount than a bent drive shaft, because that would only occur if you happen to run over something that caused it to. Yeah, that wouldn't be the most likely cause. All right, front wheel drive shaft problems, usually caused by,
Both.
or usually, I'm not caused, indicated by, sorry, yeah. Either one. All right. 129, the next one. Clutch noise, excessive rear differential backlash, yes. Overdrive, the drive shaft really stays slower than the engine? No, it doesn't. A collapsed engine mount on a front wheel drive vehicle can cause a vibration. It could. But needs to be removed to replace the drive axle shaft from a front wheel drive vehicle.
All they both.
All of those, yep. When servicing a drive shaft, Tech A says it's a good idea to take the U-joint caps to prevent them from coming off.
True.
We saw that, right? Tech B says needle bearings are used in this type of U-joint.
True.
They sure are. Okay. Defective U-joint, symptom of a defective U-joint.
Defective. All?
Any of those? Technician A, hammers on a tie rod stud to break the taper with the steering knuckle. He's not very smart, is he? Technician B uses a special puller. This is a common sense question, isn't it? This guy uses a hammer, this guy uses a special puller. Well, which one do you think is gonna be right?
B.
B.
Yeah. Now, in order to break the taper on a tie rod, it's not uncommon to use a hammer. Here's the problem. You don't hit the tie rod stud. It will ruin it. Most outboard CV joints are held on the drive shaft by using,
Thank you.
Are we on 8?
we're on 8.
Snap ring?
Okay, which one of these methods is the preferred way to disconnect a tie rod end?
Oh, well, can it be both? Is there more answers?
You could do it either way.
Yeah.
The preferred method is this one, because this one could potentially damage the grease boot here. Here, grease fitting here, this your boot here. A lot of tie rod ends don't have grease fittings anymore, they're just sealed. Older cars, all the suspension parts, they all had grease fittings, so you had to grease them periodically. This is the preferred method though, but you can do it this way. Okay. What's recommended to install a drive axle shaft to avoid damage to the hub bearing?
The puller? Install.
Install. Puller would be for removal.
Cordless impact wrench?
Torque wrench. You're supposed to torque it down to, what was it, like 200
Torque
foot-pounds?
What's that?
I said, yeah, you were supposed to torque it down to like 200 foot-pounds, I think it said.
Yeah.
200?
Something like that. It was 20 something. I know it was 20 at least.
200 seems high, but
Yeah.
is that what it says?
Yeah, usually torque to almost 200 foot-pounds. 260 meganewtons.
Yep.
What page is
Says
that on?
these nuts, it's on
It's on
1619.
1619.
Was it the hub nut must be removed whenever servicing a CV joint or shaft assembly on a front-wheel drive vehicle? Since these nuts are usually torqued to almost 200 pound-foot, keep the vehicle on the ground until the hub nut
Oh,
is
yep.
loosened and then follow these steps.
Yep. Sure is.
I'm going to the quiz in the back.
Okay, there's a part in here, or is it a tech tip on 1621, it talks about spline bind. What is that?
Changing the rear pinion angle creates a binding in the spine when the rear springs change in height.
So what they're referring to there is where the drive shaft yoke goes into the back of the transmission, the upper shaft, the splines go together and they lock in, you know, to hold it. Kind of like the spline here, right? Where the input shaft would go for the transmission. Sometimes these get kind of seized where it doesn't want to let the drive shaft move in and out. The suspension travel, they call that spline bind. So you just pull it out, clean it, put a little grease on there. That would cause a clunk noise sometimes on the trucks years ago. Okay, 1626, right? Okay. Question one, did we do question one? It doesn't look like it.
I think we did all of them, it looks like we did all of them.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So one was what?
Both?
C, okay. Two was D,
Mhm.
yeah, three was B, four was A, five was D, six was C, yep, seven was A, D for H. We didn't do 9, but we just talked about it. The splines of the drive shaft yoke should be lubricated to prevent spline bind. And what's recommended to install drive shaft axle to avoid torque? Okay, yep, so we're good there. All right. Drive axles and differentials is page, or I'm sorry, chapter 130. All right. I'm gonna go through operation of differential, gear ratio set types, compare the operation with standard and open differential and limited slip. What's the difference between the two? Anybody familiar with those terms? Open differential, limited slip differential? Open differential is basically just one that does not have any type of positive traction or limited slip to apply power to both rear wheels.
It happens when you get stuck in the mud. When you get stuck in the mud.
Your favorite movie has that,
When you get stuck in the mud.
right?
Yes, my cousin Vinny. Can we play that clip?
I don't know if I could find it.
YouTube, maybe.
Yes, YouTube. Yeah.
Why, you wanna see it?
I would love to.
So like, is it like when you put it like a 4 low, 4 high, is that what it is? The same thing?
No, you're referring to a four-wheel drive vehicle where you can select two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, 4 high, 4 low. Okay, so that's a little bit different. This is just talking about a rear differential, okay? Like on any car, okay? Rear-wheel drive car, okay? So it's either gonna have a limited slip type differential or it's gonna have an open differential. So maybe we'll find that little video clip at break time. Okay, components of the differential, types of bearings, drive axle, that kind of stuff. How to identify and determine the actual ratio. Diagnose, inspect, and disassemble differential. How to set up the drive pinion depth, replace pinion bearing. Describe the procedure to check backlash, which is to be done with dial indicator, preload for pinion gears, side bearings, different lubricants. There's a lot to this. It gets really technical. I'm probably gonna lose some of you. I hate to say that, but it happens because this class is very technical in certain areas to where it's like, if you're not familiar with even what a differential is, this is gonna be like, you know, a little bit confusing, but hopefully we'll at least get the basic understanding of it. Your two major parts of a drive axle include your ring and pinion gears, differential and axle shaft. To change the direction of engine torque is the purpose, to allow the drive wheels to rotate at different speeds. Okay, that is what the purpose of the differential is, to allow the wheels to rotate at different speeds. They do that for cornering, right? When you go around a corner, the inner and outer wheels in the car turn at different speeds. Something has to allow that. Okay? That make sense? Okay. Differential assembly changes the direction of the engine torque and increases the torque to the drive wheels. The difference between the travel distance of the drive wheels is controlled by the differential. So if you just had a straight axle here or some sort of locking differential that wouldn't allow different wheel speeds, when you went around a corner, the car would just slide, right? Because the wheels have to be able to turn at different speeds when you go around a corner. Obviously, the outer wheel in this case is going to travel farther than the left. And that shows you, right front tire will travel 4 feet farther than the left. The vehicle turns a corner, the inner wheel slows and the outer wheel increases in speed. To compensate, this difference in rotational speed causes the pinion gears to walk around the slower side gear. Shows you the internals of differential there. That's what allows that to happen. Okay, the parts. Drive shaft applies torque to the pinion drive gear. The pinion drive gear is actually the one that the drive shaft is hooked to. Okay, the pinion turns the ring gear. Ring gears attach a differential case that contains small bevel spider gears or pinion gears. The pinion shaft passes through the pinion gears into the case, enmeshed with the pinion gears of the two side gears that are splined to the inner ends of the axles. Your pinion and ring gears during operation, just so you know, if you have a problem with the rear differential gear set, the ring and pinion gears, you cannot replace one of them. They're always in a set, okay? You can't even buy a separate ring or pinion gear. You have to buy a set, okay? The ring and pinions have to be replaced together. Okay, each slanted ring gear tooth has two ends. Its toe is closest to the ring gear center and its heel is closest to the outside circumference. They're going to ask you about toe and heel on a gear, okay, on the teeth. The tooth root is a depression lying between the two teeth, and the crown is the top of each tooth. When a vehicle accelerates, the drive pinion contacts the ring gear on the drive or convex side. When decelerating, the pinion contacts the ring gear teeth on its coast or concave side. So, if this was your ring and pinion gears, right? They're meshed together, right? So let's say this was your pinion, and this was your ring gear, your driving gear. So when you decelerate, or when you accelerate, it's going to put torque on one side of it, right? When you decelerate, it's on the other side, okay? Acceleration, deceleration. So it's contacting a different side of the teeth, okay? So sometimes you'll get a noise depending on if the gears aren't set up right. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of a whine noise on acceleration. Sometimes you'll get it on deceleration, depending on the angle and clearance on the teeth that may have to be corrected. That's what you're looking at right there. They call it a hypoid gear set. It uses a drive pinion that meshes with the ring gear below the center line of the ring gear. And the depth of this pinion into the ring gear and the spacing of the ring gear toward the pinion are very critical spacing. They have to be perfect. There's different ways to adjust that, which we'll see. We've been through gear ratios before. This should be pretty easy. Your pinion is which one, the drive or the driven? Is this your drive gear or your driven gear?
That's
Sure,
the
right.
drive gear, isn't
It's
it?
the drive gear, right? This is where the power's coming from, right? It turns the ring gear. So you got 9 teeth here, 24 teeth here. What's your gear ratio?
2.66.
Okay? Okay. They will use tapered roller bearings in some of these called carrier bearings, used to locate the drive pinion in the differential case and the ring gear. Another pair of bearings locates the drive pinion gear. So again, it would be like a pair of tapered roller bearings like this, okay? One on the inside, one on the outside. Pinion gear rides on these. There would be one here and one here. What do you know about a tapered roller bearing that I've talked to you about before that you should have remembered?
The preload.
Yeah. Okay, if something using a tapered roller bearing, the preload has to be set on it, so there's not too much clearance in there, and so you don't get it too tight and it binds. Okay? This is showing you differential action. You're driving straight right here, turning a corner, pinion gears rotate on the shaft. Allows the wheels to turn at different speeds. Okay. These are what they call the spider gears. You can see there's 4 gears here, right? These are what they call the spider gears. These are your side gears. These are the ones the axles will go into. Okay, this is a ring gear. They're showing you the toe, the heel, the convex and the concave side of the teeth. The drive side is the convex side of the ring gear. Except for some front axles used in four-wheel drive vehicles, they often use the concave side on the drive side. But that's not the common. Okay. Answer to the question is what?
Type of gears using differential.
Mm-hmm. But what's the actual terminology that they use? What designates a hypoid gear set?
Wasn't that in a different chapter?
Yeah, it was in the earlier chapter.
Okay, 1628, top left. Figure 130-4. In the text, it will tell you.
What page?
1628. Top right. Okay, so tell me what it is.
High point gear sets have gear teeth that are curved much like the teeth of a spiral bevel gear. I found that on 1584.
Okay. What page was that on?
1584. The pinion gear is offset below the center line.
1584?
Yeah.
Below the center line of the ring gear is shown in
Okay,
figure
okay.
1.77.
Okay.
Maximum gear tooth contact for strength, gradual tooth engagement, and quiet operation.
Okay.
They're commonly used as final drive gears.
Exactly.
For axles and where load carrying ability and low noise are important.
Okay. So, basically what they're getting at there is a high point gear set is a drive gear that sits below the center line of the driven gear for the ring gear. Okay? All right. Gear ratio of the final drive or differential is called the axle ratio. To determine that, divide the number of teeth on the ring gear, which is the driven gear, by the number of teeth on the drive pinion gear, which we already saw. Hunting gear sets are gear sets with final drive ratios expressed in a fraction that cannot be reduced to a lower term. We don't have to worry too much about that. Non-hunting gear sets are gear sets with final drive ratios expressible as a whole number. And then you got non-hunting gear sets, which are gear sets with final drive ratios expressed as a reducible fraction, not equaling a whole number. Do we have to worry about that? Not really. Okay, open differential. Since you know that movie so well, explain to us what that is. I don't know.
No movie.
When the tire gets stuck in the mud and one wheel spins and the other does nothing, that part.
Yeah. Okay. Well, quartering allows the wheels to turn at much greater differences in speeds. Torque flow through the standard open differential. It will deliver equal torque to both wheels at times. When traveling straight on a smooth road, the ring gear carrier and the drive axles are traveling at the same speed. The ability of the differential pinion gears to spin on their shafts allows each axle to rotate at a different speed. Again, your side gears and your pinion gears. The side gears are one where the axles will go spline through. The pinion gears are also called spider gears sometimes. Close-up view of them. Note the ridges on the gear teeth. They are manufactured into there to help retain lubricant so that no metal-to-metal contact occurs. Okay. Limited slip differential. That distributes torque to both wheels equally or unequally, allowing the wheels to turn at the same time or different speeds depending on traction. Preloaded clutches use two mechanisms to accomplish this action. Coil, Belleville, or leaf spring force against two side gears, or a multi-clutch disc pack or cone that lies behind one or both of the side gears. They're going to go into different types of lift and slip differentials. There's more than one. There's a cone type. Use tapered cones instead of a multi-disc clutch pack. That one fits in the inside of a disc receptacle machined into the case. When the cones are forced into their disc receptacles, they come to a stop smoothly, locking the side gears to the case. Some will have a viscous coupled limited slip unit. Half of the plates are splined to the case, the other are alternately splined to each side gear. Plates are housed in a sealed chamber, which is filled with a thick viscous silicone-based fluid. This will allow normal speeds between the two shafts and differences between the two existing high-speed differences associated with wheel spin on one shaft. Different types, we don't have to worry too much about those. Okay, two-wheel drive vehicle open with differential, two-wheel drive equipped with a limited slip differential. There you go, there's your picture. Stuck in the mud. Okay. Again, these are just different types of locking differences, or what they call limited slip. If you do have a limited slip differential that has these clutch packs in it, it does require a special lube or additive, or those clutches will bind and chatter when you go around the corner. This is an example of one they call an Eaton locker differential. Another picture of that. Torsion differential, that one provides torque to both drive wheels, even if one tire is on ice. The complex system of gears allows a smooth transfer of torque without the use of clutches. All right. Components. Drive pinion gear is the differential is driven by a flange, often called the companion flange. That's where the differential drive shaft bolts up to the pinion gear. And they call that a companion flange. Final drive pinion shaft may be supported by bearings using one of the two methods that we talked about before. Two opposed tapered roller bearings with a collapsible, compressible spacer. Straddle mounted pinion that uses two opposed tapered roller bearings. Third smaller bearing on the pilot. Okay. Remember I told you the gear spacing on the ring and pinion gear is critical? Okay. So you can adjust the ring gear closer to the pinion, or you can change the pinion depth, how far it goes into the ring gear. Okay. We're going to talk about how that works. They're going to show you different ways to check it. Pinion shaft mounted method determines how deep the pinion meshes into the ring gear, and the pinion depth adjustments made by changing the thickness of a shim or a spacer. The side bearings, differential case supported by the two side bearings on the sides. Usually they use tapered roller bearings, preloaded to ensure the case rotation without axial or radial movement. Companion flange. Some of them will have a weight on there like you see on this one. This helps with drive bearing vibration. Okay. This is a differential that's kind of cut away here, okay? So this is your companion flange where the U-joint would bolt up the rear, the drive shaft at the back, okay? Here's your pinion gear. Here's the two tapered roller bearings. The nut for the pinion, for this X flange is going to be out here. That's the one where the preload has to be set, okay? To change the pinion depth, you would have to change a shim or a spacer that goes right here, okay? To determine how far that ring gear, pinion gear goes into the ring gear. In order to do any type of service on something like that, obviously you cannot get the pinion gear out until you pull the ring gear and the carrier and everything out. That has to come out first, because this has to come out from the inside.
Can I see that, thing again, please?
There's a couple of pages that show marking compound and how to check. In order to check the pattern on these gear teeth to make sure it's right, you put a little bit of marking compound on there and then you rotate it around, and wherever the gears touch, it will leave a pattern there. And that'll tell you if you got it right or if you got it needs to be adjusted. There's actually a couple of pretty simple and quick YouTube videos that'll show you how to do that. Maybe we'll look at one of those. Yes, Ron? Oh, yeah, go ahead and send them up. All right, bye. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. You guys from Enterprise are here.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you that. Right on time. Gene said to be here 9:30 on April 2nd. I think that's right on time, right?
Yes.
Okay, guys from Enterprise are here. So I'm gonna take a break and let them take over.
Okay.
Okay, so they probably need this, so I'm going to let them have it. So they're gonna give you an idea of what they have to offer if you decide to go to work for them after graduation, okay?
Is Ron in here, guys?
Oh yeah, he said he came and once took a break for you guys. He just took off to the back.
What's up, guys?
Morning, morning.
How's it going? We're gonna hang in here waiting for Ron.
Got you.
Need it for y'all. Feel free.
Appreciate you, man.
There he is.
What's up?
What's up,
How's
man?
it going, man?
How you
How are
doing?
ya?
Nice to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, we grabbed some donuts for you guys.
Yeah, there's a couple coming back here in a
Cool.
second, so.
I'm gonna throw around some business cards.
Appreciate it.
If you guys ever need to reach out, I'm Joe. I'm with Enterprise.
I'm John,
Nice to meet you guys.
also with Enterprise.
And we got a couple people not in, right? Not in the room?
Yeah, they're right here.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Hey, how are you?
Hi, hello.
I'm Joe with Enterprise. Nice to meet you guys
Hi,
here.
I'm Tiffany.
How you doing? So we're gonna do a quick presentation. John here runs our service center,
Yes.
and we come, every so often to just kind of introduce ourselves.
Feel
Talk
free
to
to have a
class.
donut, that's what they're here for.
Yep.
You ready
No,
to
just
grab a
look
donut?
at them. You don't need to eat them.
Come on. They got your, one of them's got your name on it. Hey, settle down now. Feel free to grab a donut.
I like you guys already.
Like you guys already.
That's why we bring
You
them.
guys want a donut?
You won't like us very soon.
No? Okay. I'll take one myself.
There you go.
Yeah,
Thanks.
get one round.
Thanks for having us.
I knew you were coming, then I got here and I forgot, like. As soon as I phoned you, you're like, oh, I know what that is.
everybody studying now?
Hey, what are you guys up to?
Right now.
Transmission drivetrain right now.
Ah,
Throwing in suspension for the next 2 weeks after this, so.
nice.
Mm-hmm. I've seen figured out how to work that.
Was it been there?
First few
7
times we needed
times
help.
here? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
About time I
It's
figured.
been over a year.
Yeah, finally figured it out, huh?
So everybody working at different dealers now?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Bueno.
Good?
Pretty good.
I like the I'm actually right next to an Enterprise. I'm over there at Honda on Tenea and
Okay.
something else up there at the other road. But there's an Enterprise right around the corner.
There you go.
We actually have to turn in the parking lot for the test drives and
Yeah?
everything. We gotta go around, go to the park, turn it off, turn it back on. Check
Yeah,
for
we got
dash lights,
branches.
please.
We got branches everywhere.
Yeah, we're all
We're never
over the
more
place.
than a couple blocks from one.
That's why John's got such a big operation out of our service center. All right, well, we'll get started. Does this thing work? All right, so I'll have to sit here. I think this is what I had to do last time too, to work the keyboard.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, as we already said, I'm Joe. I'm with Enterprise. I oversee the whole operation for the repair side of things. So anything that goes to the body shop, goes to the dealership, service center, maintenance vendor, anything that goes pretty much through a safety check, right, or a could impact our fleet health is what we call it. And this is John.
Yep. John C. High. I'm the service center manager for our service centers in Nevada, so here and in Reno. Oversee about over 40 people? 40,
Yeah, it's
40
about
something?
it's
45?
close to 50. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've hired a ton of people. One specifically, Zach, is just doing a great job. We talked to him recently.
Good.
He started here at FIT.
He was in your spot about a year ago. He graduated.
Yeah, he just hit a year with us.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yep, just hit a year with us, which is crazy because I just saw the last time I emailed this presentation myself was when we first started the company here, and it was April of 23. Can't believe it's already been a year.
Yeah.
So Zach, once again, in your seat, went through the curriculum. We went to a dealership for, are we all at dealerships yet or not yet?
Yes.
Okay. So we're at the dealerships. He was in the same position. Ended up joining us as a maintenance technician. Tire and lube tech is probably the most comparable job you might hear at like a dealer. And he came on with us. He's doing a great job. Now that he's hit a year, he has that professional experience along with the combined, accredited school background. He's eligible to earn and get his ASEs, his full-fledged tech ASEs. And for us, that leads to an increase in pay. So I know we talked to him recently, and I think he said he was taking 1 or 2, and he's going to start taking the rest because he wants to become an automotive technician.
It's time for him to start moving up.
Yeah, well, he finally has the time in the position. So we'll talk a little bit about our company, with the program that we run. The shop right now is surprisingly pretty full, but if there was any interest, I'm sure we could talk, we could stay in touch, and if there was an opportunity to arise, we can, talk about an interview and get you all set up with that and maybe looking into the position. So Enterprise, right, our vision is to be the world's best and most trusted mobility company. We've recently shifted. Our name is now Enterprise Mobility. We used to be called Enterprise Holdings.
They changed it, huh?
Yeah, you'll see on the fancy new business card. Did I give you a new one?
You better give me a fancy new business card.
Come on, man. Look at that blue in the back.
Wow.
It's nice.
You don't have any?
I didn't bring it. I forgot.
Can't take this guy anywhere.
Hey, you can always get to me from Joe.
Okay.
But it's funny because this PowerPoint slide is, along with several that I have, a little outdated. But the vision stays the same. And you can see, right, we want to be the most trusted mobility company. we just kind of moved into the space and called ourselves Enterprise Mobility because nobody else was really there yet. So these are a couple of the stats. We did over $30 billion in that's billion with a B in revenue fiscal year 22. 80,000 plus global employees. We're actually to this point we're almost at 100K. We're way up there. We're in 90 plus countries and territories. 10,000 plus global branches. So that's outside the U.S. U.S. investment grade car rental company. So for those of you who don't know, the credit reporting bureaus that monitor each of our own personal credit, they also monitor the business's credit to see how their financials look. Do they have a lot of debt? Do they have a lot of revenue? Do they have a healthy amount of each? And we are the only car rental company that is what they call investment grade, because we're privately held by the family, the Taylor family. We're not publicly traded on the stock market. But had we gone to, a public version of our company and we became traded on the stock market, we would be looked at as an investment for most people's eyes. We're the 9th largest private company according to Forbes. 2.1 million in our fleet globally, and then 300 plus makes and models. So you're not going to a Toyota dealership or a Hyundai dealer and specifically working on 1 or 2 makes and models. If you come with us, you get exposed to a lot. I mean, we have Lamborghinis in fleet, we got Porsches in fleet, we got Corvettes, we got a lot of sports and exotic cars. That's a more recent push our company is making, not just in our local market, but across the globe. So there's some exciting stuff there. This is our portfolio. Just to kind of give you an idea, right? We talked about the car rental side. Fleet management's more for the companies that are going to need 25 vehicles for the next 3 years. And then maybe we reassess the need in 3 years to see if they need to grow that or shrink it or get different vehicles. Truck rental, of course. Car share, car sales, van pooling. It's a little cut off because of the way we're presenting, but we have a subscription, luxury, exotic is what we call it. And then we're in the technology space as well with our own software and technology that we offer to dealerships and to some of our insurance partners, really just to send over reservation and customer information to help the customer process be as smooth as possible.
So if somebody goes to work for you, do they get a hookup on a rental car if they need a rental car?
They do. We have an employee rental program.
Yeah, cool.
Yes.
I figured that.
Yeah, we
Friends,
get
the
it.
family, everybody.
Yeah.
How about me?
Well,
You're a
nah,
friend.
I don't know that. Yeah.
I don't know if we trust you, but
No,
Oh,
if you
man.
need something, you need to let me know. I could absolutely help you out.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we'll get you a whole like $5 off.
Wow.
Totally kidding. We'd set you up. We'll set you up. I've always taken care of you. I always will.
I know.
So as we mentioned, the global footprint. This is just kind of a visual. 90 plus countries and territories, 10,000 plus global branches, right? So this is where we'll talk about the innovation in mobility.
What he's trying to say is they're not going anywhere. They're not gonna
Yeah.
go out of business anytime soon, so if you go
Yeah.
to work for them, you'll have a job for the rest of your life.
Between that and the investment grade credit, I mean, I think that's what everybody's aspiring to get to financially, right? As a business, if you were making that much money and you have that little debt, that's, I mean, almost as good as
Plus,
it
you
can
have the
get.
opportunity to travel, right, or to move,
Yep.
like
You
to
do.
relocate, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
We have somebody that was thinking about that.
yeah, that was a great point.
Thank you for putting me on the spot. Appreciate
I
that.
actually moved out here from New Jersey, New York, a year and a half ago. I came out here literally on Labor Day of 2022, and the company paid for the move. They did all that. Now that varies based off the position and level and where you're moving and all of that. There's a lot of different factors, but they take care of you big time. They moved my whole family. They came in, they packed the whole house. They shipped my wife's car out. I mean, the whole nine. So it was really cool.
I've got the same story basically. I'm
Yeah.
from Florida, so they moved all my stuff. I didn't even have to lift a finger.
Yeah.
They just,
It was weird because you're like living there, and then they literally come in and take like the books off the bookshelf. They like disconnect your
dirty dishes.
TVs, everything. Yeah, literally. Yeah, it's crazy. So getting back to the innovation piece of it, a lot of you have probably seen electrification in the fleet going across, not just us, right, but many companies. Teslas are big out there nowadays. Got a big push, I think, from Hyundai and Nissan and several other manufacturers into that electrified fleet. We're going to do our best to ensure we continue to deliver the best customer service. Our company takes a lot of pride on customer service. That's what our entire company is based around, if you didn't know. So we wanna make sure that we're doing it to stay up with the technology, but also the needs of the customer. If we know our customer is not super in tune with it, or maybe as comfortable, me personally, I'm not the most comfortable with the electric vehicles, but until there's more infrastructure in place, you know, our company has vowed to continue to stay close to that and make sure we're not going too quickly into that space. Not to speak ill of a competitor, but I don't know if anybody's heard about a large Tesla purchase by another rental car company in the past couple years. That CEO is actually no longer with the company
Serves them right.
because of the big push into the space that the customer's just not comfortable with it, right?
I agree.
As far as our shops working on electric cars, we're not really there yet. We're not doing a whole bunch with the EVs. Obviously, we'll get them back to the, you know, dealers and stuff like that and get them going as much as we can. But as far as working on them, we're not doing much work on them yet.
Yeah. As far as equipment in our shop, we got a brand new facility. Yeah.
If you guys were to end up start working on that, would you guys be paying for the class for the people that work there?
No.
Because there's a specific certification for it.
No, we don't pay for any of the classes. The way it works is, I'll go back to Zach and his example. If we have a accepted curriculum that gives you a raise per hour based off of the class you're taking. So
Gotcha.
while there's tons of ASEs that are out there, we accept A1 through A8, right? Was it L1?
L1,
X1,
X1,
and then T1 through 4?
No.
Oh, no,
two,
it's
4,
4.
6, 8, something like that.
Yeah. It's 4 truck.
2, 4, 5, 6.
So it's a very specific curriculum, and it's based around the frequency you're going to see that kind of work at our shop. And there's some that are very low frequency, and then there's some that are very high frequency. But that's what the curriculum is kind of based around. And the way it works is if Zach wants to take this test, and he's in the process of doing, once he passes it, he's got to pay his own money on his own credit card and do all that with ASE. Once he passes it, he submits the pass test to us if he is an apprentice, and we will reimburse him for that. Now, as an entry-level technician, he's got to get his first 2 on his own. He's got to foot the bill. But once he gets to 2 and he's an apprentice, we pay for the next 2. And then our requirement in our company, in our position in service centers, is to have 4 of these ASEs of the accepted curriculum. And if he has 2, right, we're going to help him pay for the other 2. We'll get him to 4. At 4, you become what we call full-fledged automotive technician. Okay. And that's when the pay rate jumps about $5 an hour.
All your research after that are also reimbursed.
Right.
Same way.
Right. Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
Eventually, as the market goes, if we're gonna more into EVs, then it's a possibility, but it's not at the moment.
Yeah, it's not something we're currently doing. I know dealers sometimes will push, right, to get specific manufacturer trainings. You know, sometimes there's a combination of manufacturer training and ASEs. It depends, I know, on the manufacturer.
Gotcha.
So we talked about introducing EVs into the fleet. This essentially goes on to talk about how, you know, fleet management is trying to be strategic. They're actually the ones that are pushing more electrification. We found that our long-term customers that want these cars for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years are actually the ones that are more interested in the electrification or the electric vehicles. We got thousands of, we've always had hybrids in fleet. We were actually one of the first to introduce those and really push those. We're adding plug-in hybrids. And in the UK, about 45% of their car club division is electric or hybrid. So that's a fun fact. Connected vehicles. So I go back to customer experience, right? Our company is based around customer service. We want to do anything we can to lead to an overall better customer experience. Now, we're not a charity, right? So it's a business. We're there to make money doing it. But one of the main things that we focus on is connected vehicles. So over the past several years, we've been aiming by 2026 to have a fully connected fleet. And what that means is, you know, customer pulls up into our return lanes, the car's mileage and fuel will automatically populate into the local agent's handheld or tablet or iPad or whatever you want to call it that they're using to close the rental agreement. That leads to a more seamless transaction, less room for error, and it leads to an overall better customer experience. Also, on the roadside experience, if you experience a breakdown, maybe you get a flat out in the middle of nowhere, we have GPS coordinates because it's connected in some way. Most of our fleet is connected in some way like that, and we can pinpoint where you're at instead of asking, hey, which mile marker are you at? So once again, it leads to a better overall customer experience. Nobody's happy when they experience breakdown. We all know that, right? Hopefully none of you have been through that. I have, and it was very painful because you're stuck there waiting, trying to describe where you are, trying to give these landmarks. You're not from the area, and this helps kind of alleviate a little bit of that. So we have almost 500,000. Once again, this is outdated. I would lobby to say we're over 500,000 vehicles across the U.S., Canada, and UK that are connected. Driving impact. John, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so this slide is about all of the philanthropic initiatives that we do around the world. So over the years, we've done a bunch of different ones. 50 million trees over 50 years. So it was established to honor Enterprise's 50th anniversary. We did a 50 million tree pledge, and so it was with the Arbor Day Foundation, so our company is actually paying to plant 50 million trees. A couple of the more interesting ones, I think, are the $115 million we've been giving over 10 years to fight food insecurity in the country. So, you know, help hunger relief programs and stuff like that. So I think we do a lot of philanthropy.
Yeah, and as far as, you know, Red Cross, right, we call it the Road Forward. There's quite a few on here that you can see, and there's just millions and millions of dollars. This is the charitable impact that we're looking to have. You know, we like to give back to the neighborhoods and the businesses we've partnered with throughout the globe. So our foundation, this kind of talks more about the philanthropy. You know, that was a big thing, and Jack Taylor is you know, one of the founders, part of that founding family. So 592 million donated to date. 74 million of that donated in fiscal year 22. So that was our fiscal year runs from August 1st to July 31st. Okay, so fiscal year 22 would have been ending in fiscal year in 2022. That would have been July 31st, 22. That's coming out of COVID. So the fact that we were still able to pledge that much money, I think is great. It's really just, to me, rings true, because the company struggled like every company did through COVID, right? But somehow we were still able to keep up a large chunk of change. You know, 74 million out of the almost 600 million, that's, you know, a little over 10% in just 1 year. 15% goes to education, 16% to environmental, 52% to health and wellness, and then a couple other smaller pieces up here between the arts, disaster relief, military, other, and then public and social benefit, right? 98% of the grants are based off of employee-identified initiatives. So our company really pushes through us, you know, in emails and meetings and talking. Hey, what are you interested in? What really is important to you on a personal level, and how can us as a company, enterprise, how can we back you in that? So all of these donations, out of all of them, 98% are based off of things employees have brought forward. So I think that's really cool. A lot of it, you know, is nonprofit, like you guys. You know, FIT is a nonprofit. We donated here. Military heritage. You want to take this one, John?
Yeah. So the company's named after the USS Enterprise, the historic warship World War II. That's actually our founder was in the war and
yeah, he served on that.
Was a pilot on that ship. So we hire military veterans and members of the National Guard and reserves, make up more than 10% of our company's total workforce. We have a ton at our service center. We actually haven't hired any recently, but we have a few that have been around for a long time.
Justin just came in, what, 6 months
Actually,
ago?
yeah, Justin's
transfer.
new. Yeah.
Justin, one of our maintenance technicians, Tire and Lube Tech, he transferred in from Texas. He's a veteran himself.
Enterprise was recognized with the Secretary of Defense Employer Support Freedom Award for hiring so many veterans. And we also support organizations that make a positive impact on the lives of veterans, including Fisher House and an annual Keys to Progress.
So specifically this Keys to Progress, I have been a part of it, and it is really cool. We partner with a local insurance company and a couple other partners like a body shop, and we essentially give a car away. So we get a car that's damaged, the body shop fixes it, you know, parts, labor, everything donated. we usually pay a portion of that parts bill to help supply, because it's, as you can imagine, right, building a car is not cheap. And then the insurance company foots the insurance bill, I think, for 3 to 5 years, depending on where this person's at. And it's literally donated to them. I've been there when they give it to them. It's, hey, here's the title. They sign it over. It's really, really cool. So, just something I've been personally involved in that I wanted to kind of touch on. You may have heard, maybe you haven't. Enterprise is known for their people. Last year, almost 20,000 people got promoted or took challenges that were new to them. One of the things that me and John touched on earlier with the relocation, we didn't relocate just for, because we wanted to, right? There was a pay raise involved. It was a promotion for us. And that opportunity is constantly growing. And as our fleet grows, more opportunities out there. And to Ron's point earlier, that should continue to grow, whether that's, you're looking to stay in the U.S., looking to stay in the States, or in the state that you're in, or if you're looking to go outside the States, maybe to Canada, you could go to Europe, you could go pretty much anywhere in the world. Globally, we have such a large presence. We've been buying up and acquiring rental car companies across the globe to help that expansion piece, but with that comes more opportunity. So these are a couple things, connected, right? We have all these different social medias.
Follow us.
It's kind of interesting. So the Iraq jobs one specifically, there's Instagram for the Enterprise Rent-A-Car Careers. That one's usually got quite a few postings. This is more specific to what John's dealing with, so he'll talk about this.
Yeah, we need some new pictures because
we do.
This is our old shop.
Yeah.
Which actually had 9 service bays. All these numbers have actually changed quite a bit.
PowerPoint. Yeah.
We're at about 18 automotive technicians now, and I think 18 maintenance technicians. So that's like 36 people. We got a couple supervisors. One of our supervisors was recently promoted from an automotive technician to a supervisor role,
It's been about a year. It's
which
great.
we're really proud of. He's doing a great job. We work on everything. I don't know if you can see in here. I mean, the Challenger, the Porsches. Our one thing that a lot of people like is that they get to learn about every make and model. You can work on everything you've ever seen, basically.
Yeah.
Which, especially right now, because we're covering the most years and makes and models that we've ever had. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. This is our old shop, so the new shop looks a little different. It's much more modern building, and we love it right now. It's going to be nice and cool in the summer instead of really hot. It's great.
Yeah. We got to get some updated pictures as well.
We do.
Ron's been
You
there.
don't have
It's
any
not bad.
pictures of the new service center?
No,
No.
you know what? This whole PowerPoint's outdated. I asked for a new one, but I don't know if they're gonna.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're
Do
doing.
you have any questions?
We're probably struggling
Yes.
for enough money to create another one.
So what is your typical probation period?
120 days. 120 days is our probationary period. Yeah. So if you got hired, what is that? 4 months, something like that.
4 months.
All right.
And we are a
Benefits?
union. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, full benefits, 401k, dental, vision, everything that you would have in most other companies. You would have.
Stock options?
It's not publicly traded, so we don't have stock. No.
Since we're not publicly traded, there's no stock to buy.
Well, some companies kind of let the employees
I do know of
take
some
on a
like that.
percentage.
So
Yeah.
maybe you're referencing like a profit sharing kind of thing?
Profit sharing.
Yeah.
We do have profit sharing.
That's the closest thing that we'd have to that, because in order to have stock options or give away percentages, it's usually, in my experience, the company has to be public, and we're privately held, so we don't have that ability. But what we do is they, like this most recent year, they shared 10% of the profits with every employee who was participating in a retirement plan. So if you weren't participating, you missed out on not just the 3% match that the company, 4%, they just upped it to 4.
Yeah.
4% match that the company gives, but you also missed out on the 10% profit sharing that they gave. So if you made $50,000, you missed out on the $5,000 straight into your retirement, not taxed bonus.
Mhm.
One thing that we probably want to talk about is it's a union workforce. So the union, you know, CBA does, the collective bargaining agreement does dictate certain things, like our schedule.
Mainly scheduling.
That's pretty much it,
It's
right?
just, it makes everything almost seniority based.
Yes, yes.
So,
That's why I bring that up, because, you know, when Zach came in, he was definitely not on the shift that he wanted to be. But then he quickly,
He got really lucky, actually.
timing wise, he
It
made
only
out.
takes time to get to like where he is right now.
I mean, yeah.
We expanded our
Put the effort.
workforce so
Right?
much.
You don't run just a day shift type on the shop?
No,
So if somebody wanted to work different hours, they
Yeah.
could do that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
We have
We have
a little bit of
full-
everything. So at our airport location, we have shifts all 24/7, 365. So you do keep the same shift for about 6 months. We do 2 different bids a year. And normally, most of the people are pretty happy with what they have right now. We've evened out our scheduling a lot. You always have 2 days off in a row, and your schedule doesn't really change for 6 months. So.
Getting to, you know, his point, we have that on-site, we have essentially two shops here in Vegas. One's that on-site QTA, called Quick Turnaround, and they're literally on-site at the airport, just doing tires and oil changes as quickly as possible, so we don't have to waste a driver moving that
Minor
vehicle
mechanical.
across the street. And then we have that current QTA shop doing a full 24-hour overnight, to Ron's point, where we have that flexibility with the hours, right? We get the morning shift, we got an afternoon swing, and then we have the overnights. We were looking at potentially starting a graveyard or an overnight at our shop, which is directly across the street from this on-site QTA we keep referencing. That's the brand new shop that John was talking about, where it has the 9 service bays. We have about 40 technicians, couple supervisors, and much more equipment. So that's more for the heavier jobs. And even at that point, sometimes we still send it to the dealership because we may not be authorized to do warranty on it, but we do quite a bit of warranty work.
We
And
do.
wanna touch on that?
We're authorized to do warranty work on basically everything domestic. Nissan, Infiniti, Toyota, working on Honda, Kia, and Hyundai. So we do, and then it's basically limited up to a dollar amount. But
Right.
yeah, we do recall work, warranty. So a lot of stuff that you do at dealerships, we're doing. Most of the stuff you'll do at a dealership, we'll do.
Just to give you guys an idea, so it's kind of like, we are essentially, like, we have dealer codes, we are a dealership, and we are looked at as a revenue stream and a cost control factor for the rental operations. It's cheaper for us to do the work in-house than it is to send it to a dealer, right? So that's something that we really focus on, and just bringing in the right talent, the right people who are looking to move up in their career, get more experience, get more skill under their belt, and work their pay up, so.
What does a typical day look like? Oh, I'm sorry, did I cut somebody off?
A typical day for a technician? So let's say you were on our 5 a.m. shift, you get in around 5, clock in, you would work, you have a half-hour lunch, but you work on, this is probably the only place where this is possible. You pick what you're working on.
Yeah.
There's no one there really giving you stuff unless we really need something. Your supervisors kind of let you go, choose what you're working on, and as long as you're working the whole time, nobody really, gives you any trouble. So I couldn't tell you what their typical days really look like exactly, but as a maintenance technician, probably about 7 or 8 oil changes and maybe 10 different tire cars. We like you to get, we like you to fill your day with that much work.
Yeah, the goal is obviously to get as much done as possible, but to John's point, your day's gonna vary. It might be different today than it might be different tomorrow.
It varies
Based
a lot.
off the work that comes in.
And it's, so like you'll pull in something that needs a PM, like an oil change and a tire rotation, then you're looking at a bunch of different things. So you're checking the tire tread depth, you're checking the wipers, you're looking
Brakes.
at fluids, brakes, and then you're ordering sort of what it needs from there.
Yeah.
A lot of it's up to the technicians, so.
I think we had another
That's what I
question
answered.
back, right?
What's like the typical timeline, so like, if somebody comes in, new guy, what's the typical timeline for like how long they gotta be a lube tech to like, an automotive tech to?
It's up to you.
It's really up to the person coming in. Like Zach, the reason Zach was held up is because, if you guys aren't aware, to get your full-fledged ASEs, You need to have 2 years of combined accredited school experience. So FIT is one of those accredited schools. That counts as 1 year, once you finish the curriculum. And then that second year needs to be professional work experience in the shop, in the automotive industry. Or you can do, was it 3 years in just working professionally in an automotive shop? You can do
It's
either.
2 full years?
So because you took this class, it takes a year off of your time, you
Yeah.
don't have to wait.
Right.
So you cut your time in half.
Yeah.
Essentially, and if you'd already
This-
been working.
This class is erasing a year from your
Right.
work time.
Yes.
And how long is the class again?
4 months.
16 weeks.
Yeah, 4 months, right? So I knew the answer. I was just asking to see if everybody knew.
But if
Right,
some
so
people-
would you
if
rather do
come
4
in
months
with
or a full year?
experience, you're-
Most
you
people
can
would say
go
4
as fast
months.
as you want, essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing holding you back if you already have the experience.
So in Zach's scenario, before we'll get to your question in just a second. Zach's scenario, the person we keep referencing who was in your chairs, he was just held up by that 1 year of professional work experience he didn't have, but he had the school experience. So now he's at the point where he could pretty much start going up as quickly as he possibly wants. It's up to you.
So he
you
can
know,
take
up to the
4
person.
ASEs in a day,
Yeah.
essentially, and then we would interview him for the next spot.
Yep.
So,
Sorry, one more question, right?
So you were saying like with personal experience, it changes?
no, personal
it, or-
experience unfortunately does
Oh,
not
I
count.
was gonna say. 'Cause
No,
professional.
No, because you'd have everybody saying, "Oh yeah, I worked on my dad's car."
Experience
forever,"
just doesn't
you know?
count.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it just
it's great that you have that. If anything, it would just make it that much easier
It is
for
great.
you in a
Yeah.
professional
You
environment.
just get there that much quicker.
And
Right.
yeah, you know more than
Yeah.
somebody else.
Because we
but-
do have several people who came in and they're like, you know, they're tinkering, right?
Yeah.
They did a lot of work on their cars. They grew up doing it. They grew up with their father or
Zach was
whatever
that way.
family member that was doing it.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Exactly how I am.
So,
Yeah.
so it sounds like you might be a little bit of ahead of some others,
Yeah.
just because of that experience.
When you are automotive tech, do y'all stay like the same as dealerships as in flat rate, or y'all do strictly hourly?
No,
No,
we're
it's
hourly
hourly.
across the board.
Oh, you guys don't do fly?
No,
They're hourly.
hourly.
Yeah, that's a good point. We didn't bring that up earlier. Yes, we are hourly, and a lot of people like that because one, they get to come in, they get to pick their work,
It's steady.
and right, it's steady. So you don't have to worry about at the dealerships, right? You go through these peaks, these valleys. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen a lull, but we're definitely going through it right now. The dealerships have been approaching me like crazy for works. As I mentioned, I run the Reno market, I run down here in Vegas, and I've been getting approached by body shops, dealerships, maintenance vendors across the board. They're all trying to get more work, and it's because when I drive by the dealers, there's not a lot going on. Now, some of the dealers that you're at, I'm hopeful that's not the case, but those peaks and valleys are not as noticeable with us because of the non-flat rate. You're hourly. Good questions. This is great. Keep it coming, man. Keep it coming.
Where do y'all like top out at?
Pay?
40.
Yeah,
Almost 40, like 39 something.
as an automotive tech.
You could start.
Yeah.
You could almost start there.
If you come in with all the ACs, you could start there. Yeah.
The actual peak is determined by like your time with the company as
Yeah.
well.
So in our union CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, there's usually like every year you get a raise, and it's whatever it is. It's a quarter, it's 50 cents, it's whatever it is per hour, right? And maybe $1. You would still continue to get that, so there's no real, I guess, cap. But as far as the cap, I think you're referencing with the ASEs and what's in your control, it would be about almost $40 an hour. And then you could continue to get those yearly, annual compensation raises.
And then you said with the ASCs, is there a specific amount you need to start at that rate, or?
4.
Yeah,
Four.
you would need, no,
No, at that rate,
all,
you'd have to have all of them. That'd be
A1
the
through
max.
A8.
So
A
you'd have
through
to have
eight?
A1 through
A1 through
A8,
A8, L1,
L1,
X1,
X1,
and then our 4 truck certificates.
and then there's 4 truck certs. So we don't pay individually for the truck certs, but at $1.25 each, once you get all 4, you get the $5 an hour raise.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't want you to just go in knowing one thing about the trucks, right?
Yeah.
And you're working on trucks, we want you to know all 4 good.
Yeah, and then you're capable.
Correct.
We count
Based
you
off
as
the work
capable
coming
of
in.
working on the bigger diesel trucks.
Yeah.
Got you.
But all the way up to, I mean, we work on box trucks and stuff too.
Yeah, we got like 26 footers. We got some pretty big rigs that come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys pay for, any certifications like forklift?
No, We try to
Some
stay
stuff
away
we
from
really do.
forklifts right now.
Yeah.
And probably
Yes.
forever as a
I
company.
don't
It's
think
a
we'll
little
ever.
dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever really need that.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
go ahead.
working with the box trucks or moving tires, I know, forklifts are commonly used. So,
In
We
some
don't-
shops,
Some
maybe,
shops.
Yeah,
we,
I think it's
we've
based off the
done
equipment that the
everything.
shops have.
Yeah, it depends on the equipment.
I think the capability may change based off the equipment.
On the 26 footers, we're really not doing much on 26-foot box
Right.
trucks. Really, probably the biggest we're doing a good amount of work on is like probably like an 18, something like
Yeah.
that.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, so it's
So
nothing
that biggest tire
requires-
size, no.
Correct.
No,
So-
our tire machines that we have actually wouldn't even do.
They're
the
not
26.
capable of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it's our question, right?
What do you start at?
For which position?
For,
A maintenance tech at entry level? It would be, was it 1750?
Is it 1750?
I think it's 1750, and we currently have a $1,500 tool bonus in place.
Yeah, somewhere.
I'm sorry, it's a $3,000 tool bonus.
$3,000 tool bonus.
So at your 1 year mark,
So your 1 year mark,
you get paid a $3,000 tool bonus for being there for a year, one, and two, as a maintenance technician, we understand people coming in might not have all the tools they need. You might be laying some money out. This
helps
is to help
new
recoup
technicians
some of
buy
those
their
costs.
tools, but
Yeah,
everyone's currently getting it, but
Yeah.
it's after a year of work.
correct. You get it on your 1 year anniversary, essentially, when you're hired. I think it's like one of those promotions we were running to try and get more people in the door, because I know nobody's paying even close to that. That was something that we came up with. And then our automotive technicians that are coming in with the ACs are getting five grand.
Just to be completely clear, that is not something we are currently doing it, but we don't know how long that will be an option.
Subject to change.
Yes.
It's in every year we reassess if the need's still there, yeah. That's the same thing with pay, right? Like if we need to assess or address pay, we do that every year. We just kind of try and do it once a year instead of a couple times.
Yeah, but pay's never gonna go down.
And we had a question in the back and then we'll come back up.
So typically, like at a dealership, they'll have you at a lube tech and then become an apprentice, is that the same, or is it after
Yeah,
lube tech?
yeah, we actually used to not have the apprentice position, but we created that knowing that there is people in that scenario that want to become an A-tech and they're like, 4 is a lot of, maybe I could just start. So to get an apprentice position with us, it's 2 of the accepted AFCs.
It was just that one step that allowed.
Yeah, it's like that half step, right? It helps kind of get a little momentum behind you and then you just keep it rolling. We get, once again, those, you pay for the first 2 and then we get the next 2. As long as you pass.
So, just to make sure I understand,
Yeah,
so if we come in with our A1 through A8,
Mhm.
we already have a year taken off.
Mhm.
So does that mean that we're automatically an apprentice?
no, so the ASCs you get from here are not the full-fledged
Yeah,
technician
they're entry
ASCs.
level.
They're entry
Or
level.
student ASC.
Right.
Student,
All,
yeah.
all I've been told though is it's the same questions, it's just you can get a couple less wrong to
Yeah.
pass.
So honestly, the
Same
tests
test.
aren't any harder. I mean, obviously, I've taken a million of them. They're not much different. They're just, you have to get a little higher percentage to pass.
Yeah.
And less
But,
learning.
I mean, it's,
And you have to have the experience.
it's not that difficult. Plus, you know how to, there's study guides and stuff like that out there and practice tests online, which we obviously do all the time. But they're not that hard, so.
Yeah, so the way I understood it is it's just, you're pretty much taking the same test, right? But you have to have the professional work experience. And then when you're taking that test versus the student entry level ones, there's just, you can only get a couple less wrong, right? So you have a higher passing threshold, if that makes sense.
Any
Good
other
questions. This
Oh,
is
go ahead.
good stuff.
Yes, in regards to relocation, so if, somebody applies, but they wanna, they're like in the process of moving, but they wanna work for Enterprise, do they
Mhm.
apply for that position here or in that
So-
state?
Our relocation package doesn't start until you're a level 2, so it's not available for entry level positions. But like our recent promotion for Josh, he was our automotive technician. He was, when you talk about being capped out on pay, the guy had everything under the sun. So he was at that point, he was looking to build his pay a little bit more. He became a supervisor. Once he became a supervisor, you shift from an hourly employee to a salaried employee. That's when that level 2, that relocation package comes into play. It's more something we talk about for down the road if you're looking to continue your experience and not just be a technician and spin wrenches all the time.
So what you would be kind of referring to would be like transferring.
Right.
So once I think you normally have to be around about a year before you're eligible for like any kind of transfer.
Mhm. Good question. Any others? Talked about a lot of good stuff. I appreciate you guys being so involved. Engaged.
Is there any type of insurance like for the workers as they're working on that vehicle? Not in a sense of like for your personal reasons. like,
personal
let's say
benefits?
for whatever reason you're taking the car on a test drive, somebody hits you.
Oh yeah,
Would you
yeah,
be
Oh,
liable for
yeah.
that?
absolutely.
No, you don't pay for that.
We have, yeah, we
I mean-
have insurance, we're fully covered in
Yeah.
Your
anything
personal
that would
insurance
happen
never comes into play if you're.
when you're on the clock.
Employed,
Yeah.
dealer or anywhere.
That's what
Right.
They have their own insurance for you.
Yeah, yeah,
We're
usually they have some sort of
self-insured,
garage
actually.
keepers insurance, something like that, policy.
So you mentioned how there's like no slow seasons like there's in dealerships.
I'm sorry, what was that?
You mentioned how there's no slow season, but there's really no slow season like how there is in dealerships.
Yeah,
No, there isn't.
So, like the automotive techs, are they mainly doing like oil changes and stuff like that?
no, there's just, I mean, we have 18,000 cars in Vegas alone that we oversee, and then another like 4 to 6 up in Reno. So not that those 4 to 6 really matter to any of you unless you're moving up there and you're looking at that opportunity up there. But down here in Vegas, you know, that's a lot of vehicles. And with rentals, you know, we're constantly driving them. Even when they're idling, right, we've all learned that idling still has wear and tear and takes a toll on the vehicle. So there's constantly work that needs to be done, whether it's something as simple as an oil change or tires, or when you're going through that process, maybe we identify it needs brakes, right? Hey, the rotors they can't be cut, we need to replace these things. Some of our more entry-level technicians are getting exposure to that, and they're working on building their experience, working towards getting their ASCs, getting more skill in that. But we keep
Once you're
them
past the
pretty
loop
busy.
check, are you never gonna have to do an oil change again?
I mean,
No.
no,
You-
we
But
have
that's
so
not
much
just
the
work.
other day had to
normal
have a
work.
couple people do it.
If there was like nothing, we might ask you to do it, but
You don't
when
do
was the
very
last time we
many.
did that?
Yeah,
We haven't done that in forever, right?
And I mean, some of the fixes and procedures that you have to do.
Yeah,
as
they
well
just require,
involve a oil change
If
anyway.
you're swapping an
Sure,
oil
right,
pan, right?
right.
You gotta do that
So
process.
obviously,
But yeah, they don't do a lot of.
We haven't done that in a while, right? We haven't had to have an
I
automotive.
did yesterday,
Oh.
but yes.
Don't get in John's bad side is what I'm hearing.
Well, no, we just had, that's all we kinda had to work on at the time, so they worked on a bunch of, well.
It's very few and far between. There's always work.
But, yeah.
But I gotta be honest, if I'm making $40 an hour and I'm doing an oil change, I don't know if I'm super upset about it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not like
Personally,
your pay doesn't change based
I
on
don't
what you're doing.
right.
So
personally,
you're just doing a little bit easier work at the time.
yeah. Good questions though. Appreciate you guys being so engaged. Anything else we could cover before we get out of your hair? Let Ron get back to the meat and potatoes of this.
You take all the time you want.
Yeah? Well, I'm not really trying to go back to work, so maybe another hour. This is way easier, man.
That's way easier than what I do.
Way easier. Yeah.
Working in like a, being a tech in like a rental company,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't it be harder to like master certain?
Vehicles.
I
Why?
guess. So, yeah, I was gonna ask, why do you think
A
that?
particular brand or area of a vehicle?
Yeah.
Probably would be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because you're working on so many different makes and models, I'm assuming is what you're
Right.
talking about.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to be Mr. Chevy Tech and know all about that, yeah.
Yeah,
You'd be better off with a dealer.
yeah.
You know, but, yeah.
Well, I mean, we have, so you're picking what you're doing most of the time. So if you wanna do that,
Yeah.
start taking everything
And,
that's.
yeah, I
All the
suppose that would work
Chevys.
too, right? Yeah.
I was just gonna say, we have
Because
so
that is-
many,
That is one cool thing, you get
Picking
to
your work.
walk out there and just, I'll take that job, or I'll take that job. you know
And we
what I
see
mean?
the same things, like a lot
Yeah.
of the things dealers see, that we're seeing the same stuff.
Yeah,
So-
sure there.
I always refer to this, my dad used to be a tech, he was a diesel, he was a transmission guy, and, you know, he never really pushed the technician on me, and I guess I'm kinda thankful for it, but I do wish I had that, I wish I had that technical know-how, I really do. The reason I bring this up is, you know, he had this wealth of knowledge and wealth of experience. But as he worked his way up the ladder, he wanted to become a manager, and that's what he ended up doing. He worked his way into a, kind of like a Josh, like into a supervisory position. And that's really what I think, at least he told me, that's what really opened the door for him and gave him a little bit more of options, right? Because then you have the actually spinning wrenches and on-the-job knowledge that you can then apply and train and help and develop your team that's out there. That's when he felt it was most impactful. And that was just something I want to before I left, share with you guys. He, that was the part he loved most about it. So. Good stuff. Anybody else? Okay. If you didn't get a donut, get one, because I'm going to take the last one if it's in there. And if not, hopefully we'll see you guys soon if you want.
There's 6 of them in there, so
Six?
you can have as many as you
John.
want.
There aren't
I was
any
gonna-
left.
If you guys would like, please scan this QR code. I think it asks for a couple pieces of information. This information goes to our recruiter, and they could help stay in contact. You have my contact info if you'd like to reach out. By all means, let me know.